here to talk about brain breathing. What do we think that is? So this here is filled with stuff the entire time, constant. And for all of us, it affects us in different ways. And breathing, obviously, is something that just slows us down. So before we even start, before I even tell you what I do and who I am and why you're here, I just wanted to start with some brain breathing. And that is really thinking about what is going on up here and connecting it to our breath. Just taking some lovely moments to breathe in and breathe out. Because I'm sure most people have already had a very busy time. Now, today I've been quite fortunate in that I've sat in the sunshine, I've made my cup of tea, and I have prepped to be here today. And that is so fabulous that I can do that. And I don't take it lightly that I get the time to do that. So brain breathing is all about letting go up here, connecting it to our breath, and taking those beats, because we are always in such a fast-paced world. And one of the ways I like to do it is with a cup of tea. So I get people to choose a tea bag. Now, obviously, I'm a British person, so coffee is out the window, so it has to be tea. Choose a tea bag, decide your flavour, put the kettle on, and not do anything whilst the kettle is boiling. This is about a 2-minute process, 2 or 3 minutes. And continue to just breathe and try to let thoughts, either they're rolling in, rolling out, maybe there's nothing there yet, maybe there's too much, it doesn't matter, but you're just waiting for that kettle to boil. Then you pour the tea bag with the water in your tea, and again, you just let it sit for a minute. This could be another 30 seconds. Take the tea bag out, I do like some milk, and go and sit down and enjoy your cup of tea. That could be another 3 minutes. So 5 minutes in your day without having the tea whilst being on the phone, whilst connecting to other people, whilst having this busy life that we all have, allows us to start our day by brain breathing. Now, I run a practice called Medicine with Words, and I have all these different tools. So today's session, this first one, is brain breathing and Kintsugi technique. And I'm going to go into more detail of that, but I just wanted to get us all in a place just before we started to be intentional with what we are doing right now, as opposed to multitasking, as opposed to, is an alarm going to go off? Do I need to check my emails? Imagine if you really did, just for those 5 minutes, go and make that cup of tea and have a thought of me, just about me. Maybe you want music on, maybe you don't, maybe you like the quiet, it doesn't matter. But to get our brain to breathe to start our day. So I'm going to give you a few exercises, practical tools that allow you to do this throughout the day to have that time. Now, when I was having my meeting about this session, and we all have to come online and everybody says, okay, what are you talking about? How are you going to run your session? The thing that we spoke about was joy. What was our joy? And to connect that to everybody so that they could understand. Well, one of my joys is definitely the brain breathing techniques and all of these other tools that I'm going to talk about. But I wanted to go to that word first. What is your joy? What fills you with joy? What is joy? How does this feel for us all? And this morning, as I said, I had my sunshine, my time out, and my cup of tea, and I knew I was coming on here. And I feel incredibly grateful that I got to experience that element of joy today. And I think we throw these words around quite quickly with, are you happy? Do you feel successful? What's your purpose? Where do you find joy? And they're kind of thrown around now, and we're supposed to have these answers. So what I do is I try to really simplify everything and take it back to its core. Now, there are lots of ways of meditating. There are lots of ways of slowing us down. But as I said, these tools are allowing us to have this moment in our everyday life, practical tools, because we kind of all don't have that time to go off and have an hour sound bath in the middle of our day, or we might not have that time to go off and actually go to yoga. And because we have this lifestyle that we've all created, which is filled with noise and a constant sense of urgency and filling the time, these practical tools are going to help you just slow down and find your clarity. So going back to this joy, what brings you joy? And if you just think for a moment and go, okay, well, am I feeling that now? Am I comfortable? How am I sitting? What have I got to do today? What does my day look like? All of this is encompassed in medicine with words, which is living intentionally, living with intention. And that brings me so much joy. It brings me joy when I do it for myself. And it brings me joy when I help other people and I guide them and I share these tools. Now, I have 10 tools, as I said, but the two we're going to work on today is brain breathing and this one, the Kintsugi technique. This is my little sticker because I love stickers. So let's go back to that joy question for you, because maybe if we start that brain breathing moment, you might allow your brain to consider what truly brings you joy. Why is it that you enjoy going out and meeting those people? Why is it that you enjoy sitting here in that garden with that drink? What is it that you enjoy? And one of the techniques I use in order to get our brain breathing and slowing down and living with this intention of, okay, this is a question I've been asked, I'm going to help myself find the answer, is what do you not like? Sometimes it's really useful to find the opposite of that. So I'll tell you what I don't like. And this is the equivalent of my to-do list and my not to-do list. Again, it's very important to have that balance. So my things that don't bring me joy, I do not like being cold. Can't stand it. Hate it. Any form of cold, right through to your bones. Just don't enjoy it. So that's important for me to know, because when I'm living intentionally and people are asking me to do things or go somewhere or be part of something, I have to say that has a huge impact on my decisions, on my choices. So again, sitting here now, still brain breathing. I'm letting everything else, all that noise from my day disappear, having my cup of tea, and I'm considering one thing, the joy, what I like, what I don't like. So I really enjoy sitting with my dog. I love it so much. It brings me so much joy. And I love smelling her. I love smelling her fur. I love smelling her breath, which I know is really not that nice. But that brings me so much joy. What don't I like? I don't enjoy leaving her. I never leave her. She's with me 24/7. She's here right now. In fact, if you hear a funny noise, it's her snoring. It's not my tummy. That brings me joy. What doesn't bring me joy? Leaving her. So if I get invited to something and I can't take Chai, that's the name of my dog, then I might not go. I'll choose not to go. So now I'm brain breathing and I'm thinking this through and I'm feeling where I am and I'm considering all this joy. And it makes me start to slow down my breathing. It makes me start to clear my mind. The next level, once you consider your joy, is starting to feel gratitude for that joy. And I am so grateful that I get to do this. I'm so grateful that I get to be with my dog. I'm so grateful that I get to sit in the sunshine every single day. because I do live in LA, although we did have a hurricane the other day. And I have to say, it wasn't as bad as everybody made out, because I am a Brit and I am used to the rain. But the joy of being able to go into that sunshine and feel it on my skin just slows me down. So you need to find those things that make you feel joyful. Start to think about them. Put yourself in a joyful place. As I said, I have my cup of tea and my breathing starts to slow. My brain starts to clear, because this thing up here can be so flipping noisy all the time. We can be in what's known as survival mode, or we can be even in that neurological place of maybe there's ADHD, maybe there's a bit of autism, whatever it is. The brain is all affecting us in very different ways. And my concept is about clearing it as much as we can. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have things coming in and going out, or having pieces of paper next to you to write things down on. That's okay, because you're intentionally choosing to brain breathe. I'm not going to dash off to do something. I'm choosing to have those moments. And what happens when you get those moments is quite magical. And I call them glimmers. It's like sparkling tinsel, or maybe glitter that you throw around. And they're little glimmers, as opposed to something negative, because you're actually transforming the way your brain is working right now. Your synapses are doing something different. The blood is going to different places. Your blood is going to the place that you want it, and reminding you of all these good things. Slowing everything down, putting yourself in that good place. And there are some exercises, written exercises, that I'm going to show you now, that I think encourage that brain breathing and encourage us to just take a moment from the day-to-day life. So let's think. So already you've woken up in the morning and you have gone to make your cup of tea. Even before you do that, there's something you can do that helps our brain breathe. And that is asking yourself this really vital question. And this all contributes to how you live intentionally throughout the day. That question that I ask myself every single day is, how do I want to feel at the end of my day? Let's just take a moment to think that through and to try and work out what that means. How do I want to feel at the end of my day? So when I woke up this morning, and I have my dog here on my face, and I thought, okay, by the end of today, I want to feel that I have transformed somebody's life. I want to feel that I've made a difference in at least one person's life. How am I going to do that? Now, you might not have the answers straight away because you've just woken up, but what that will do is afford you the time to make very intentional choices as your day goes on. So let's say today I want to transform someone's life. Well, I've got it quite easy because I'm on this conference and hopefully that will happen. I'm going to maybe post something useful on my social media. When I go to the supermarket, the grocery store, I am going to be conscious of how I speak to people, maybe smile a bit more, maybe be kind or kinder, because I do think I'm quite a kind person. But again, intentionally thinking, not just focused on me. I've got 5 minutes. I've got to go around with my trolley and get everything I can. Maybe it'll just allow me that moment to stop and think. So when you wake up in the morning, how do you want to feel? And keep that in your mindset throughout the day. Okay, so that started our brain breathing in the right way, not going immediately to our fabulous technology and panicking and going into notification mode and all these red dots and I must answer them really quickly. We've paused. We've allowed our brain to breathe. Next thing, Intentional living is getting up and having that cup of tea. Again, I'm not going to stop you from having your coffee if you like your coffee, but I love a tea bag because you watch the kettle, it brews, and you're sitting there having that moment. Your brain is continuing to breathe. Because if we suddenly think about our breathing, we realize we're probably not breathing, and we're not breathing deeply, and we're not breathing for ourselves. We're already panicking and thinking about the day. So we've taken that time to have that cup of tea and to sit for 5 minutes. And I'll tell you a secret. The world doesn't end if you don't immediately answer a notification. Strange, I know. And if you're not answering that email, nothing bad happens. Now, I'm not talking about intentional living where maybe you've got a deadline that day and you've planned your day and you know what you're doing. I am talking about the normality of day-to-day existence, which is probably 98% of the time. Okay, so now we've done that. Maybe we live with people, maybe we don't live with people. And my next practical tool is a question that you can ask yourself and ask other people and set their tone right for the beginning of the day. I did actually do a little picture with it as well. Let's see. Oh, I like my picture. Okay, this is my picture. How is your heart? Not how are you? How are you doing? Or higher, or whatever the shortened version is, and we actually don't even respond and don't think about our answer. But how is your heart? Imagine if you were asked that. I have to say, it makes me quite emotional because I think, wow, someone really wants to hear. They really want to know. Now, again, I'm not talking about when you're on a deadline and somebody's trying to get something done really quickly and you suddenly want to get all emotional with them or even ask them this question. Choose your timing. But how about you ask yourself that? How is my heart? Because again, what it does, it's not a question you're used to. So you actually have to think. You have to stop. Your brain has to breathe. Your breathing slows down. How is your heart? Well, my heart is full, very full. I want to keep it full today. I'm being a really good mummy. I'm being a good dog mummy. I'm trying to think about what I want to do with my day and how I want to help other people. Is my heart feeling sad at all? Is my heart feeling empty? Not today. Not today, it's not. But this leads me into explaining a little bit about why these things are important for me. Because I will tell you, one day, not that long ago, my heart was empty. And it was sad. And it did feel lonely. And my heart felt broken. And I have woken up before and thought, how do I feel today? Or how do I want to feel by the end of the day? Well, I'd like to feel this, but I don't know how to get there. And my cup of tea was not that. It wasn't sitting and it wasn't enjoying it. It was fast paced. It was, we've got to go. And a lot of this stemmed from me being a film director in the industry. And a lot of it stemmed from having a PTSD experience when I was bullied. And a lot of it stemmed from a divorce. All of these things affected my day. And I was living in survival mode. It was non-stop survival mode. But I didn't realize it. And again, that's quite normal. That's normal for people. We don't realize it. You know, we kind of call it fight or flight, and we're busy, or society has impressed on us that we need to be busy to be successful. Or if your calendar isn't full, then you're not successful. You're not working and doing what you should be doing. So all of these ideas were impressed on us. Now, I was very, very good at running this kind of practical aspect of medicine with words with my daughter, but I wasn't doing it with myself. And it was during COVID that someone said to me, wow, I love what you do. I love how you live with this thought pattern, the way you bring your daughter up. You know, this could be really useful for other people. And I realized that before I could do it for other people, I had to do this for myself. I had to ask myself these questions. I had to go into this place that was quite deep and work out, what is my life about? What is my intention? What am I doing here? Because I believe my intention was just being a good mummy. It was just being a good friend. It was all about the exterior of things as opposed to myself. And again, we're taught that's very selfish. That's a bit selfish to think about yourself. And I actually think of it as selfless, because if we can start working on ourselves, then we know that we can give more and be there for people and be more present. So all of these tools and exercises were created because of what I was going through and what I realized I naturally did. So going back to those wonderful exercises in the morning, how does my heart feel? I'm now very aware of when my heart isn't feeling good or full or happy, because I've experienced the other side of things. And when I ask people that question, it's really interesting to see their reaction, because they kind of go, I'm sorry, what did you just ask me? What did you just say? Not how are you? How is your heart? And it makes them have to think. So again, they start to use their brain in a different way, slow down their breathing. How is your heart? Okay, so those are the first techniques and fabulous exercises to start your day. Now, if we were going to talk about the rest of the day, it's quite easy to get into those bad habits. So I'm going to give you something else that I really enjoy doing. It's called a pat yourself on the back exercise. Okay. Now, what I tend to do is I get a piece of paper and I draw around my hand on that piece of paper. Now, I will tell you, my pat myself on the back exercise is on my front door, because it reminds me of certain things and I change it up every week. But you can just do this on your own, wherever you are, and just do it quickly or take some time to fill it out. It's up to you. You can do it in that moment for that moment, fill it out for the day, fill it out for the week. But it's called patting yourself on the back, because in your handprint that you've drawn on that piece of paper, fill out, you can draw, you can write, you can color in, it doesn't matter, whatever you want to do, what you are proud of yourself for. What are you proud of yourself for? So for example, this morning, if I was sitting here just doing this, I'd draw my hand and I'd go, okay, so I got my daughter off to college on time. I actually did sit in the sun and have a cup of tea. I've prepped for this conference. Let me take it back to yesterday. I was on time for everything. I gave my friend some time. Now, maybe I want to take it back a little bit further, that I was able to take that time for myself, that I was able to plan my schedule well, that I booked a directing gig. It doesn't matter, whatever it is. But again, your brain is starting to think in a different way. Your breathing is slowing down and you are becoming conscious of that moment, that present moment. And it's such a quick thing you can do to create. And as I said, it looks like it's your hand. So you can pat yourself on the back metaphorically. And you can do this wherever you are. I've done it in the car sometimes, and I was just sitting there going, okay, I just need to remind myself of how far I've come, or what I've done, or what I've achieved today. And it could even be something as silly as, you know what, you got up today. Because for some people, including me in the past, that has been very difficult. Getting myself out of bed was hard. How did that feel? Why was that hard? You know what? It doesn't matter. Well done. I got myself out of bed and I got myself dressed. I made my cup of tea and I walked outside. Well done. Pat yourself on the back. So it could be anything. And that's another practical tool to get our brains thinking consciously, being in the present moment, and just breathing. Now, let's move on to Kintsugi technique, because this is my little sticker. So I love stickers. I love coloring. I love stickers. I love drawing. I love writing. I mean, some of these things I'm going to be showing in my later sessions. But this one, the Kintsugi technique, I'm going to tell you a little story. Okay, so there was an emperor who lived in China, and he had, it's obviously a tea story, he had his favorite cup and saucer. And he was being brought his favorite cup and saucer. I imagine it was on a tray, actually. And the person that was bringing it dropped it, and it smashed into pieces all on the floor. Now, I do like a cup of tea in a teacup and a saucer, so I understand if this was a precious one, what this felt for him. Smashed into smithereens everywhere on the floor. And immediately the servants came up and they were like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry, we'll clear this up, we'll get you a new one, we'll throw this away. And he said, no, don't do that. I don't want this thrown. We can put it back together. And they looked at him slightly crazy. Put it back together. But why don't we put it back together with gold? So it makes it even more beautiful. Now, I love this concept because I'm not a fan of throwing things away. I do like to fix things. In fact, you can see the hole in my hat. My daughter says to me, Mummy, you look homeless. And I'm like, no, but this means something. I like this. I like all these broken pieces. And so thinking about that concept, I created something called the Kintsugi technique, which is about embracing our broken pieces. Now, that obviously means something very different to everybody. It could mean something as literal as we have things in the house, we have actual physical items, and we shouldn't just get rid of them. Maybe we can improve on them, make them better, all the way through to us, metaphorically. What are our broken pieces? Are we afraid to think about them? Are we filled with shame? Do we blame other people? And it's almost like they have to be brushed under the carpet. I love that phrase. It's so fabulous. Brushing it under the carpet. But why? Why do we feel that's necessary? And what I try to do with my technique and all these other exercises, and again, I'll give you a couple of them, is to consider those broken pieces, to acknowledge them, to almost say thank you. Thank you for those pieces. Because I tell you what, I wouldn't be sitting here today if I hadn't embraced my broken pieces. So imagine you're that china cup. Imagine it's smashed into a million pieces and you were just going to throw it away. Draw on a piece of paper, could be this vase like this, if you wanted to, or draw a cup and draw in it some cracks. And this is you. You are those cracks. I know, I love Wabi Sabi too. The art of imperfection, so cool. There are so many of them. I love all these Japanese techniques. So the Kintsugi technique, you draw your vase, or you could draw your teacup, whatever it was. And on those cracks, you're going to start to write what it is that you think is broken, just on the cracks, because the spaces are going to be for something else. Now, so let's think, what's broken in me? Let's put that maybe it was something to do with, I know, I used to have anorexia. So when I had anorexia, that would have been an issue, would have been the eating, going out, not wanting to be seen in public, eating, a feeling that this was causing me to put on weight, all the classic things. But then in the gaps, I write what that really means. What did that really mean to me? Well, actually, maybe that meant that I felt less than. Maybe it meant that I felt that I wasn't worthy of something. And when you put this teacup together, or this vase, and start to look at it and start to recognize your broken pieces, you can then move on to the next stage, which is, okay, why do I feel like that? What makes me feel like that? So me feeling unworthy, me feeling like I didn't deserve what I was getting, I was then able to understand that and take it to a deeper level and work out why. Now, I'm not saying this is an easy process to do in one go, but once your brain starts thinking in a peaceful way, you start writing and drawing and considering these things, it's amazing what then comes from it. And what then the word trigger is thrown around quite a lot, but it is relevant right now to think, hold on, what triggers me? What makes me feel unworthy? And if you start to think about all these things and write them down, again, just throw them on pieces of papers. I do things like this. I just start to write and draw. You'll then understand intentional living even more, because you'll understand to not put yourself in those places that make you feel like that, because we have a choice. We have a choice not to feel like this. Let's go back to what we all spoke about in the beginning, the joy. What brings us that joy? Well, if I'm going to feel unworthy by going to an event or being surrounded by these people, why do I put myself there? So my intentional choices, my intentional living choice is to feel joyful. My intentional living choice in the morning to say, how do I want to feel at the end of the day? All of this starts to take shape when we start to understand those broken pieces can influence us. And we need to try and get them to influence us in a positive, intentional way. Now, my house is filled, although nothing around here at the moment, with all of these images and drawings, because they are reminders to me of what it is I need to work on. Now, one of the things that I find useful is a nutshell card. I'm going to show you one of my nutshell cards. Okay. Now, this is a nutshell card that I created. You'll see, in fact, it has Wabi Sabi on here, I think. Where's Wabi Sabi? Yeah, right in the middle, imperfection. So this is a nutshell card that I started to work on once I had created my Kintsugi vase teacup image, because I started to realize how I want to live my life. And I create nutshell cards for all different reasons. But when I can see my nutshell cards and I carry them with me, it reminds me. So let's go back to me talking about being in survival mode, because my first nutshell card was really based on that. Once I'd written what I was broken, once I'd written why that happened and what it made me feel, and then what triggered me, I realized my nutshell card needed to say things like breathe, have sleep, eat well, see friends, these basic things that I had forgotten to do. So by working out my broken pieces, I was able to then work out what I was missing in my life. So my nutshell card initially was filled with survival mode things. And then it was about a year later when I redid my one of my nutshell cards that I created this one that was much prettier and much less survival mode and more about, it says, loving, self-care, being present for Isabella, that's my daughter, medicine with words, changing one person's life better each day. Because we can't be in survival mode. We can't be thinking about all our broken pieces and live intentionally and be present and be joyful. So it's a process. It's a process to acknowledge these and work through them. And we mustn't be embarrassed by it as well, because that's another thing, the shame and the blame from it. When I started to talk about what I was feeling and what I was going through, it started to connect so many people. It started to heal so many people. And once I was out of survival mode, I was able to hear much better. I could listen and really hear what people were saying, because I wasn't just trying to survive. So creating your Kintsugi technique and working through your own broken pieces is really important. One exercise to take us from that is called my trigger tower. And I literally draw a tower with lines in it, different floors of what triggers me, because it's really important to understand what situations you're in. What are they going to do for you? Now, one on the bottom of mine might have been going to a family dinner or a family event. That was a big trigger for me, because questions that were being asked. What are you doing? Why are you feeling that? Why aren't you doing that? So I put that there so I understood it. And then I made my tower with as many floors as you want, understanding what my triggers were. Then when I understood that, I was able to work out again in more detail, well, hold on, what family event? Is it a so-and-so's 40th birthday party, or is it sitting around a table with 4 family members at Christmas? What do I actually mean by that? And once you start breaking things down into even more detail, that will give you even more intentional living, because that's what this is about. If we want to have that joy, we want to have that time for ourselves, we need to break things down, and we can decide and make positive choices. So thinking about why do I feel like that? The big why. Do you blame yourself? Are you being made to feel shameful? Do you blame others? Thinking about that, breaking that down into our trigger tower. Why do those situations make you feel the way they do? Once we start to process all of this, once we start to feel this, we can then start to let it go. And that is so incredible, that feeling of letting it go. So the last exercise I'm going to give you, because sometimes we need to let it go, but we don't have the ability to scream and shout, and we maybe are in a room with a group of people, is I like to draw a little stick man on the top of a mountain. So I draw this stick man on the top of the mountain, and I draw these lines away from the face, and that's me. And I can write on those lines what it is I want to scream and shout from the top of my lungs. And this exercise, again, is something just like the pat yourself on the back exercise that you can do anywhere at any time. Maybe you're in the middle of an office and you've just got really frustrated with somebody. Maybe it was in the office, maybe it was a phone call with somebody. You draw this and you write on it what you want to say, what you want to do, and you let it out, because we have to let these things go to live in this much more mindful, joyful, intentional way. And it might be that you've had a concept of somebody that annoyed you in the day. Maybe you were driving, maybe there was road rage. And again, you get back home, you draw that stick man, you put him on his little mountain, and you draw and you write, what is it you want to shout? And it might be swear words. I'm not going to swear on this because I don't know who's going to watch it, but you literally might want to go to this person. And the idea is you then fold that piece of paper up and you throw it away, and it's out of your system. It's left you. So those are the kind of tools. Those are some of the exercises. I think if there are any questions, we can go for them. Otherwise, I think that leads us nicely to just consider the end of the day. So let's see if there's anything right now, if it's more just comments, which I did love, by the way. You'll have to press them because I can't. I don't want to lose everybody.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Yeah, just a couple comments, which I'm pretty sure you saw. So but stick man screaming, perfect. I love it. But yeah, thank you so much. I mean, Elizabeth, all these tools and techniques are so important to keep considering. I find myself stressed out so much and different things pulling me this way and that way, and it's just so much negativity that just really are hard to let go of sometimes, you know? So yeah.
It is. And this is life. And that's why, again, when you get to the end of the day, if you've done a few of these, you get to the end of the day, if you've been as mindful as you can be, even if you just attempted one of these, and at the end of the day, sit there again for those moments before you go to sleep, before you turn everything off, and consider, what did I do? Did I feel like that? We start to get into a pattern and it becomes a habit. And it's all about forming those habits. Take the pressure off yourself to get it right straight away. But even that what do I feel at the beginning, and then think about it at the end. Even that habit forming exercise will start to shift things. And that's all we can do. We're not perfect. We're human, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's especially so tough when like there's just the people around you, are, I don't know, just I don't know, all these things you can't control, just, can feel like a lot sometimes. So these are some,
The
yeah.
outside noise. It's the outside noise. Please, can you read me that last comment? Because I
Sure, sure,
really,
sure, sure. Let's
what did
see.
it say?
Dory said, "This is very helpful and good timing. Thank you for the tips on mindfulness and to take time to take care of ourselves with self-introspection."
And
Yes.
thank you for that. I love that comment. The other thing you can do as well, though, not just for yourself, it's quite fun doing this with other people, like the pat yourself on the back exercise. If you live with people and say, hey, how about this evening? Let's put those phones away and let's just draw around our hand and write what we're proud of. And it starts and stimulates all sorts of conversations. So it's really important to have these tools and have these exercises. I have got my book coming out called Living with Intention, but I want to show you the way I created it was by all my own drawings and all my things like this. So that's coming out at Christmas, because again, I do these all the time. This isn't like I've created something, I'm like, good luck, everybody. I do these. It helps and it brings me so much joy. So the joy that today, see how I wanted to feel, change someone's life, I'm hoping I've already done it. So I can tick that at the end of my day.
Hmm. Yes, you have, Elizabeth. You can check a couple of that a couple times. Thanks. It means a lot to all of us. Are there any last questions here? Or if not, Elizabeth, if there's any last pressing things that you'd like to say.
Well, let me look, because I did write on my list. So let me just see. So, well, Maxim spoke about a pot of gold. I think I've given lots of little pots. And I just think it's about being mindful of remembering we're here and now. So while I was doing this, I haven't thought about anything else, and it's brought me absolute joy, and I've been really present. There were no distractions from anything else. And I think it's about teaching ourselves that it's okay to do that. It's okay to not answer the phone. It's okay to not answer those emails immediately. We are all in a world that is filled with this noise. So taking the time to watch this conference. I hope when people watch this, they actually spend 45 minutes without being interrupted. So just a reminder of trying to stay as present as you can. It's presence with a C, not presence with a T.